Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.
Welcome to another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. I'm your host, Anamdi Oswagu, and today we're going to be talking about building a cyber resilient payment organization. I am excited for our guest that we have today, Zechariah Akinpelu, CISO of Unity Bank PLC. So before we introduce Zechariah, how are you doing today, Zechariah? Zachariah, do you hear me? Okay, we're gonna work that out. Yeah, so let me just do some housekeeping stuff. So this is gonna be an exciting show today. We are going to get into cybersecurity from a payments perspective, from a bank perspective. So it's going to be a lot of great discussion. Let's do some housekeeping stuff, right? We are streaming live from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. We also have a stream going from Instagram. And so you could comment. If you comment, you'll be part of the show. You could comment on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. And then I'll add your comment to the show on Instagram. I'll just see the comments and I'll read out the question. Hear me? Okay, I want to read Zechariah's bio, and then from there, we will jump into the show. Zechariah Akinpelu is a distinguished cybersecurity executive with extensive experience across multiple sectors, including fintech and financial services. Notably, he established the information security departments for various commercial banks and fintech companies in Nigeria and has held key positions such as Chief Information Security Officer at Unity Bank and Head of Security at InterSwitch. He has been instrumental in Isaka, Lagos, serving as the Education Director and other roles. An accomplished speaker, Zechariah has presented at prestigious conferences worldwide, including Black Hat and JITEX. His academic credentials include a BSc in physics from the University of Ibadan, an MBA, a master's in cybersecurity, and he is an alumnus of the MIT Sloan and Carnegie Mellon University. His recognitions include induction into the EC Council's Certified Ethical Hacker Hall of Fame and the title of Best CISO in West Africa by Finavex in 2023. Amazing bio. I think we temporarily lost connection with Zechariah, but he should be back. Anyone's in, let's start. We could jump into the comments and so forth. We're going to kick the show off momentarily. Just having a little bit of a connection issue. Sometimes these are the situations of a live show. Give me a second, people. Let me see what is going on. He's right now connecting back. He's just switching browsers. We will let me see. Let me add you to the stage. Videos loading. Let me take you off the stage. All right. If anyone's out there while we get the connection issues established, Let me where are you calling in from, or where are you watching from? Comment and drop in where you watching from. That should be we'd like to just see that initially while we get sort out some video issues and so forth, and then we'll kick the show off. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with the. Okay, here we go. Zachariah,
All
do you hear
right.
me? Oh, yeah. Touchdown. Love you.
Okay. I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Listen, I
All
read
right.
a chance to listen to it, but the audience heard. I read your extensive bio. Very, very impressive with all of your accomplishments and things of that nature. Are you able to do you hear me clearly right now? Zachariah, you not sure what's going on. Okay. I think his screen froze. Let me just take him off stage real quick. Screen froze. Okay. Well, today's topic in general, so we'll start the conversation. Then when Zachariah's connectivity gets established, we'll jump in. We're going to really talk about cybersecurity in terms of in a financial organization and establishing that program. Like what are some of the steps, right? Like today is about building a cyber resilient payment organization and going through how do you set that up? What are some of the important things that you're going to look at from a from an organization perspective? What frameworks can you use or leverage? It's a lot of let me just answer this real quick. No screen is just sorting out some connectivity stuff real quick. Yeah, so on that note, we're just gonna like jump into it because out of curiosity, just wanna it's always good to get different takes on it. And based on Zachariah's background, I think it should be a very interesting discussion in terms of cyber resilience and building that out. Let me still just working on some connectivity issues. So one of the first things that I look at when looking at organizations and coming in, and we're gonna get Zachariah's input is asset identification. So can you identify all of your assets, starting with critical assets and different things of that nature? I think like that exercise is extremely important because you want to understand, what you have. Be surprised at. Okay, cool. I think he's back. Hey, Matthew?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
hear you now.
oh, okay, beautiful touchdown. I was gonna um I was gonna take over the show, man, and start talking about cybersecurity. I'm happy that you're here because I really want your take and your expertise. So, one of the directions that I was going in terms of establishing a cyber resilient organization, you're saying when I look at organizations, the first thing I try to do is identify their assets and how surprising it is. Some organizations don't really have a full grasp of their assets. What are some of the things that you do initially when establishing your cybersecurity program?
Okay, the common thing that I do whenever I want to start a cybersecurity program, right? Yeah, so you are asking me about a cybersecurity program, right?
Yes,
the
yes.
stuff that I do whenever I want to start the cybersecurity program.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very, very good question. So what I normally do, because first and foremost, you need to ensure that you align your cybersecurity objectives to the business objectives. I take it upon myself to make sure that I understand the business objective very well. So with that, I'll be able to come out with a kind of objective, because cybersecurity is meant to support the business. So I will look at it from that strategy. So strategy is very, very key. So having understood the strategy, I will now come up from the strategy, I will come up with a kind of a policy. The policy will be like kind of this foundational framework. No? So having identified the policy, I will also look at because the best approach where
Froze on this
approach. You look at, okay, based on your organization, what are the risks, and what are you need to first and foremost identify your asset. What are your most critical assets, digital assets, and with that you be able to use those assets, and you must be able to assign a value for those assets. So with that value assigned, you'll be able to know the level of control.
Froze on us.
That you must ensure that the control is not too. So whenever you are measuring the control, make sure that the cost of the control does not.
Yeah, you're. I think the connection is freezing, but I want to touch base on what you said initially, right? Just to summarize, which I think was great. You start off with identifying the business objective, because you just captured that, which is an excellent point. The cybersecurity is meant to support the business. So the first step and foremost is understanding the business objective. And then from there, you start to align your policies to support that objective. Is that accurate?
Correct. That's correct.
Then afterwards, you said, talking about the risk involved. So we want to start understanding, okay, what's the threat landscape, right? And then with those, and then associate risk with that. And is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, so the best approach to cybersecurity is for you to look at it from the risk-based approach. So do not put too much of control. Make sure that the control that you're putting in place does not is in commensurate with the asset that you want to protect. And then so the risk assessment is very, very key for you to build a very good framework when it comes to cybersecurity.
And I like also what you said, because I mentioned when we were going through our technical difficulties, I mentioned identifying the assets, but I like how you said associating a value to those assets. Can we dive in that? I think that's a really good approach. And how do you go about quantifying the value to those assets?
All right. So for there are different frameworks that you can leverage on. So I don't want to sound too academic. So there are
You froze.
different frameworks by the Cadet University was. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you froze again.
Can you hear me now?
One thing we heard. Yeah, I can hear you right now, because it stopped that. You don't want to sound too academic. And I was going to say, it's fine to sound academic, because we're all here to learn. So you could
Okay.
sound as academic.
All right.
As best.
All right. So as I was saying, there are different frameworks that you can leverage on. You can leverage on FAIR framework, FAIR. You can leverage on mixed on mixed risk framework. And so also depending on what is on your organization. So any of the framework that suits you. So you need to look at the assets. So for example, in a fintech or in a payments providing organization like banking, for example. Could be protected. You need to look at the software. You need to.
Yeah, the connection is going in and out. Let me see. Connection is going in and out.
All right. Is it better now?
Yeah, it goes
Okay.
in and out. So I want to make sure we capture this because for one thing we have, you said, we want to leverage frameworks. We have and I'm very familiar with NIST. I'm actually doing a whole series on that. And you mentioned prior FR. I'm not as familiar with that framework, which I'm not familiar with that one. But you said, okay, so we're going to leverage the frameworks to try to associate the necessary value to those assets. Is that accurate? I think you froze on me. Yeah, let me just let them know. Okay, I think yeah, we're it's we're having some connectivity issues, but it's unfortunate because this is some really valuable information, and I wanted to make sure that we came across it. We touched base on it on this episode, but let me see if we can get through these technical difficulties, and then but yeah. So I mean, look at all the stuff that was said so far, right? Um, Getting an understanding of the business objectives, and that's a key point. I'm happy Zachariah brought that up, and then aligning your cybersecurity objectives to the business objectives. Obviously, we have to support the business, right? And then from there, understanding the threat landscape, in your particular vertical. We're talking about fintech right now. These types of conversations could be applied to different verticals. And then, once you understand the business objective and start understanding policies around supporting those objectives and understanding the threat landscape and the risk, the identification of the assets, which I really like is, and I'm gonna actually is the quantification of those assets. I mean, obviously it might not be um, down to the cents, but it's good to get a ballpark idea of it. And we see what different frameworks we can leverage or different tools that we can leverage to understand that. So it's really good to hear different approaches to the cybersecurity strategy and stuff like that. I think he's back. Hi, Zachariah, you're back on the stage. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, 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 yes.
So I was given a
I can hear
summary
you.
of what I was given a summary of what we talked about so far, right? And we were at the place where we were trying to quantify the assets. Like, what's the approach on the asset quantification in terms of associating a value to those assets?
Okay, all right. So I was talking about that there are different framework that you can leverage on. You can leverage on next. You can leverage on the FAIR, which is factor analysis of information risks. So the factor analysis of information risks, so is a kind of a model that can be used to understand, analyze, and quantify your cyber risks, especially your asset in financial terms, because you need to be able to assign in payment in a financial service like banks and fintech. You need to identify what are the assets that are very critical to you. Based on the regulatory requirements, customer data, are very very data when it comes to the customer data.
Okay, froze again.
Beyond would be made available to unauthorized people, or you need to ensure the confidentiality of the customer data. You need to look at the integrity of the data, and also need to look at at how those data can be protected. So those kind of the data, you need to assign a good value to it, and then the assets, the infrastructure that we have that data. How do you protect those infrastructure? How do you protect those assets? So beyond you assigning a value, there are different methods you can, and for you to achieve this,
yeah. Okay.
you need to conduct a kind of a proper.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think we have some connectivity issues. Unfortunately, like I said, this is some valuable information. Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate because like you're dropping some really valuable insight, and I wanted to make sure the audience and we all capture it. I don't know if we want to regroup with more connection, because we're not fully capturing everything. So
Okay. All right. So I should regroup the stuff, right? Okay. So
yeah,
I'm talking about the risk assessment, how to quantify the asset, right? So under the risk assessment, you need to understand your critical data. I've talked about the different framework that you can leverage on, like the NIST and also the FAIR framework model. So not just you leverage on this model alone, you also need to facilitate, you need to engage people. A unique assessment workshop, you need to engage, you need to engage the business, you need to engage the technology team,
so
can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, no, it's going in and out, but yeah. So I'm hearing a few things, like in terms of the engagement, in terms of having some type of cross-functional meetings with different teammates. You're gonna switch the network. All right, we're gonna give it one more go. All right, while you do that, tell you what we're gonna do. While you switch networks, we're gonna go to a commercial, and then we're gonna try to circle back and see if we have better connectivity issues. So let's go to the commercial real quick, and then we'll circle back.
Are you an emerging fintech with a limited budget seeking more sales and partners? Introducing Strategic Generation, your partner in leveraging cybersecurity for sales and partner enablement. Fintechs often lose opportunities due to unsophisticated cybersecurity programs. That's where we come in. Strategic Generation assists with due diligence, security posture visibility, penetration testing, and on-demand virtual CISO services. We connect your systems to our partnered platform, and voila! Instant access to real-time diagnostics and compliance frameworks such as SOC 2 and PCI DSS. Gain the confidence of prospects and partners. Strengthen your cybersecurity program and drive success. Stop losing deals due to cybersecurity. Visit strategicgeneration.com and click on Demand CISO to connect with an expert.
Okay, let's give it a go again. Let me just see if Zechariah is ready. Give me a second, guys. I'll bring you back on. Hey, I'm bringing you on. Well, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, I can I'm hearing you right now. So let's recap, because I think you want to bring the audience to where we were, right? So we first talked about the business objectives. Then we talked about aligning the cybersecurity strategy to those business objectives and establishing policies. And then we went into understanding your threat landscape. And then we said, okay, so we're going to, based on that, we're going to go for a risk-based approach. And then we said, we're going to start identifying the assets and also associating a value with it, so quantifying it. And then we're at the part where we were trying to break down that process. We mentioned the NIST framework, and we mentioned an additional framework to get more information on that. And that's where we are right now. I think let's see if you could take it from there.
Okay, all right. So what I'm saying is that you can also look at the FAIR framework, the FAIR model. So the FAIR model was further developed by the Carnegie University, the Software Engineering Institute. So depending on what worked for you. So having looked at those various frameworks, so you need to conduct like kind of a workshop. And that workshop needs to include people from different departments, people from the business, people from the technology team, even the people from the. It also need to be also to involve people from the management team. So as a CISO or the cybersecurity professional, so your work is just to facilitate the asset, because you alone might not be able to, so to do justice for you to properly assigning value. So based on that workshops, you don't need to rush it, because the risk assessment is not what you rushed. You need to plan it, and you need to also make sure that you engage all the stakeholders when they will not be distracted, maybe at the early in the year, or it all depends on what's worked for your organization. So having done that, so apart from the risk quantify and the assigning the value, I think assigning the value. So the workshop will help you to do a better, do a good work for you to really quantify your asset. So having done that, another thing I need to look at for you to develop a very robust strategy, you need to look at the regulatory compliance. All depending on the region where you operate at, where your business covers. For example, like most financial organizations operate in different regions. There are some organizations, there are some banks that operate internationally. So based on the different region, for example, if you operate within the Europe region or you operate within the North America, you need to look at the appropriate regulatory compliance. For example, in the European region, when it comes to data privacy, you need to look at the GDPR. You need to look at the PCI, whether in respect of your regions, for that you deal with card, you deal with card, you process card details. You need to look at the PCI. You need to also look at the various policy framework that you can leverage on, like the next cybersecurity framework. You cannot go wrong with that. You can also look at the ISO 27001, the ISMS management system. Then, so those are the kind of things that you look at. So having look at you define your strategy right, you ensure that your strategy align with the business. and you've also conducted your risk assessment. Also, make sure that you do not go wrong with the compliance, because if you don't align with the compliance, that can be very horrible, especially if your company gets to sanction. And if you breach any compliance, your company the payment company can, the dependent, like a various country has their own central bank. They can, they can withhold your license and all of that. You need to be sure that you don't mess up with the compliance. Then you need to look at the appropriate framework. So then you also need to focus on how do you ensure that people imbibe the cybersecurity culture. So that's where the training and awareness comes to.
I want to kind of like, this is great, right? Because you said a lot of different things, and I want to catch the audience up and make sure that we have a summary of this. So, after we talked about the risk-based and the quantification, you mentioned something really important that I don't want a lot of people to miss, is that cross-functional team. So working with different teams in the organization as part of the risk quantification process, right?
Yeah.
So various teams may have different insights that you have to share. So it's not about the security team or the CISO doing this stuff in isolation. They kind of need the input from other departments and so forth. So I think that's a very key aspect that you mentioned, and I wanted to make sure that we just highlighted that. In addition, now we mentioned the different frameworks. Another thing that I want to highlight that you said was it all depends on your region, right? Because they have different regulatory standards based on region. Obviously, in the EU, GDPR is huge, right? With data privacy. And we start talking about somewhere like California with the CCPA, the California, it's like this California Protection Act, similar to GDPR. So, and then if you're dealing with payments, you mentioned also, we're talking about now PCI DSS, because if you're not compliant with those geographical regulatory issues, we could get into some serious problems. So I just want to catch the audience up, because these are some important points that you made.
Yeah. That was well captured, right? Yes.
And then,
so
after you, please.
Okay, right. So as I was saying, so having done all of that, you need to also pay special attention on how can people imbibe the cybersecurity culture. So that's where the training and awareness come into place. And your training and awareness, information security training and awareness, has to cut across various cadre, both the management and the junior staff. It has also cut across various functions. For example, there is some awareness that will be done to all members of staff, like all this phishing awareness, because no matter amount of processes, policy, if people are not aware of what they're supposed to do, but if you get the best technology, I'm still going to talk about the technology as well. So if people are not well trained, if people, you need to look at the human element of it. So you need to make sure that training and awareness don't joke with it. For example, the developers make sure that they go for technical training like secure coding. The DevOps engineer make sure that they go for technical training on how to handle a platform, technical training on how to automate the hardening process and all of that. Like the network engineer make sure that they understand their rules when it comes to configuring the firewall rightly, when it comes to configuring stuff rightly. And they can also leverage on various standards like the Center for Internet Security Standard, the CIS guideline, talks about different ways by which you can benchmark your platforms and all of that, also depending on what you do. And you need to take training awareness very seriously. Then with the management, you need to structure their training. Then really, you don't go and engage the manager and be telling them about about maybe SQL injection, about cross-site scripting. You need to the kind of training that will let them, the kind of training that are suitable for. You want to hear, the like a kind of high-level training on information security, governance, and also let them know that their buying is very, very key, because without the management buying and without them key, they also need to also let them know that information security risk is not just an IT risk; it's a business risk, because if there is a cyber breach, it can actually the payment company. A single cyber breach can bring down the payment company if it's not taken, if that breach, if it's not well managed. So the training has to cut across various teams, various cadre, and also cut across both the technical team and non-technical team.
I like what you're mentioning in terms of the training, because sometimes when we talk about training, we just talk about the basics in terms of phishing, cybersecurity awareness. I like the fact that you're bringing in from a technical perspective, right? Because application security, that's one of my passions, huge risk, but the developers are not trained in secure coding practices and so forth, or the right tools are not in place to help them catch that, then that's a huge miss. Especially now we talk about the DevOps engineer not hardening the infrastructure systems. So getting trained on that and having the right tools in place are extremely important. So I think that's awesome that you mentioned that. That it goes just beyond the basics of. And I'm not saying the basics is not important in terms of making sure people in various departments in the business and understand, not to click on links and things of that nature. But I think highlighting the technical aspects is very important. What type of challenges have you faced with the employee training aspect?
Okay, the challenge in the training, right?
Yeah, what type of challenges, like in terms of getting the people trained? What type of challenges have you faced with that?
Okay. All right. So the challenge that I've faced, yes, so there are various challenges. For example, if I want to organize a kind of management level training, maybe I want to organize training for the board of director, the training for the CEOs or the C-level executives. One of the major challenges is to get all of them together, because of their busy schedule. At times, I always prefer that if I want to engage maybe the board, I would want to have that training in a kind of a coursive environment, not in a serious environment, maybe but one of the challenges are to getting all of them, getting their. So what I normally do to overcome such challenge. So for example, for my executive, for the board, I try as much as possible to structure the training much more earlier. For example, if they need to be trained by September, I will start the engagement from January,
Wow.
so that I can easily get the time that will be suitable, at least for almost every one of them, because I want all of them to be on the same. I don't want this situation whereby maybe half of the members will not be available. Then for the technical team, and one of the challenges I've also faced, actually, was the technical team need a specialized kind of a training. For example, I mentioned about the developers. Developers need a training on secure coding. And for you to get people that can train a developer on secure coding, the person must, first of all, you must have a software development background, and also you must also have a cybersecurity background. So what I've done in my environment, I have an in-house. I try as much as possible to have an in-house, because we deploy a lot of applications. I make sure that I have an in-house application security engineers. So if I want to conduct training for the developers, yes, the criteria for my application security engineers, you must have a development background, and you must also understand the technology that developers are using. For example, let's presume that we use Java I will use a C#, somebody that understands how to write Java, and also somebody that also understands that can put on the security hat because luckily for me, my background, I have a background in software engineer, and as well, so I can easily come up with a suitable curriculum and also get somebody that will train the developers. Therefore, the network engineers, so so getting the right people. So because you cannot just engage the team, maybe your technical team on any training or any training that's available online. You also need to look at the underlying technology, the technology that you learn. For example, if you use a technology like a Palo Alto, use technology like you need to know people. The trainers must understand that kind of a technology that is being used in your environment and all of that. So because the training must be customized and all of that. So for the general awareness, maybe for all members of staff, like the phishing. So people, if you do like an internal, maybe you have like kind of weekly, let's say weekly publications on what they need to do. Maybe when it comes to whenever they say phishing email, some people don't read such an email. Some people don't read such a bulletin. Whether you, so what I've done differently in order to address this, I make sure that I have a like kind of a portal, like a training portal for all members of staff, and the portal system is designed in such a way that at the end of each of the module, you write, you develop, you write an exam, and so a fraction part of it is attached to your because cybersecurity is a very serious business. So a fraction of the mark is part of your assessment, your performance, going to your performance management system. That's what I've done. It might be a little bit, so I'll be able to. So that's why I've been able to get everybody to go through the training system. Also, because at times getting people to go through it can be very difficult, but you also need to collaborate with the HR or the performance management system on how you can make sure that the training is being taken seriously by everybody, and also then getting a customized training for technical people can also be challenging. Then another thing is the budget. All this technical training now can be a little bit uh, expensive, can be a little bit pricey. So, but I ensure that I took it upon myself. It's part of my budget, cybersecurity budget training. For different team, and make sure that I have the right budget at the beginning of the year. Yeah.
I think totally understand the importance of training. And something that's different than what you're doing is tying it to their overall assessment, which I'm going to assume will impact bonuses and certain things of that nature. I think that's something. I mean, once you do that, one of the big challenges is people taking the training seriously, going through the process, clicking on it. But I think definitely tying that into their overall assessment from a performance perspective is a way to get it to be viewed seriously among the organization, because it's important. I mean, as we know, a lot of the risk comes from insider threat, whether intentional or unintentional. So having that type of awareness is extremely important. That's a really good point in terms of getting that. Did you go through any hurdles in terms of getting that approved, in terms of making the training a part of their overall performance assessment?
Yes. So what we do differently, we partner with some training provider based on different job role and job descriptions. We also internally we also developed some we internally I also developed some content, and actually for not all the content that we need to develop, yes, but we developed some content. Yeah, it's a content for software engineer, content for DevOps engineer. We develop that internally, and one of my team take that and also supervise this. Yes, we also partner with various trading provider. Actually, the core technical team for the team. For example, my team member they need a training on threat intelligence, threat teaming operations. So definitely we do some partnership, and also what I do, I make sure that I get the budgets, make sure that it's part of my budget, and also drive that, and also sync with the performance management system and the learning and development department.
What are some common pitfalls in cybersecurity strategies that organizations should avoid from your experience? Like, what are some common pitfalls that they should avoid?
Okay, yeah, the common pitfall that organizations should avoid, is you need to look at make sure that I think I've mentioned about the training. I also mentioned about I started with that. The first thing, if you want to get the cybersecurity right, make sure that your cybersecurity align with the business strategy. So if you don't have these alignments, it's like a dead on arrival. So that the cybersecurity is, So, but for you to avoid that, you need to ensure that you do a lot of collaborations. How do you align with the business? You must be able to know how to talk the business language. Do a lot of collaborations with the various. Whenever you are developing your strategy, don't just develop the strategy in silos. Especially whenever you are conducting your risk assessment, and whenever you are doing your gap analysis and all of that, don't do that in silos. Engage and do a lot of collaboration. Then there's a common pitfall that also people also look at the inability not for you if you neglect the third party management, especially in the financial organization, in the payment system. Yes, you can build in a resilience. You can make sure that your application is not vulnerable to any form of vulnerability. You can develop a best firewall, next generation firewall, but your third party, the payment system, even the fintech, you cannot operate alone. You need to integrate with the different fintech company. You need to integrate with different third parties. You need to make sure that what people neglect, the security posture for the third party. So if you don't put that in your strategy, that's one of the common pitfalls, because based on my experience, I've worked in the various organizations, and I've seen a case whereby the organizations.
Wait. Oh man, we're going.
Okay, sorry. You just realized. Okay, I'm talking about it. Okay, sorry about that.
Make sure we don't miss it.
Okay, all right. Let me repeat that. What I was saying in essence is this: that for example, you can have a very robust cybersecurity posture, but if you neglect the third party, I've seen a case whereby an application is well developed internally. We follow the developer, followed all the best practices based on the OWASP top 10. All the total vulnerabilities have been dealt with. It will be on the top 10. They use the OWASP verification standard whenever they develop the application. But lo and behold, there was still a breach on the application. When we investigate into the breach, we realized that the breach come up as a result of the integration to third party through the APIs. One of the API that is not well, they did not follow the API security best practice. OWASP has an API security best practice. So if you neglect the third party, that's one of the common pitfalls. You might do everything right on your hand, but you also need to put in factor in the third party in your strategy. Before you plug in the third party, you need to ensure that you need to check, you need to enable the clause like right to audit. You also need to also ensure that your posture management system, you make sure that you have the visibility on all the APIs. You must make sure that if there is any APIs that the third party are leveraging on, you must be able to have a visibility, API inventory, and also has a visibility of all the risks associated with the APIs from your third party. Because if you neglect the third party, that's one of the major and to be the major stuff that the payment provider be facing. If we look at OWASP for the past few years, there was nothing like a API top 10 vulnerability, but for the past 4 or 5 years now, the API is becoming one of the major risks, and third party connects to your network, to your application through different API. Then you also to look at the you need to automate your compliance, you automate your assessment. You need to have a very good posture management system. Regular audit and assessment is very, very key, because at times you might be thinking that you are okay today, because vulnerabilities keep evolving every now and then. New vulnerabilities come up. So today you might conduct an assessment based on the threats available. You might be okay, but the next few weeks, in the next few months, nothing changes. You just realize that some threats has emerged. Maybe it might be at the infrastructure level, it might be at the cloud level, it might be at the application level. If you look at the OWASP something, there's some vulnerabilities that are not there 5 years ago, like server-side request forgery wasn't part of the, but today is there's some vulnerability that is turning down and all of that. So continuous assessments is very, very key, because too many organizations they have this false sense of security, thinking that everything is fine because they don't do continuous assessment. You need to make sure that the continuous assessment is very key. It's either you have your internal team that are continuously doing for you. Don't leverage on the auditor alone. You might have a internal red teaming operations, and whenever you deploy the tooling, deploy the firewall, make sure that the firewall is well tested. If you deploy the new technology like EDR, XDR, make sure that you come up with a various strategy by which a bad guy can use to evade such technology. If you have, if you test this stuff, so that you'll be able to know that. So those are the common pitfalls. So,
no, I mean these are great points. I mean, I think the and I just did a post on LinkedIn about API security. So that's a major open place attack vector, because everything with all the third-party connectivities, we talk to these different systems via API. Everybody who doesn't know, application programming interface, that's what API stands for. So go and it's one of these things that is not being thoroughly security tested. And it can lead to exposing data and so forth. And I like what you said, that you saw a situation where everything was done right by the team in terms of their internal security, but by them connecting to a third-party vendor that was exposed, then that created a problem. So really understanding the due diligence process with your third-party vendors, any vendor that you interact with from an API perspective, understanding how secure is that API, and running some tests on it, or getting some type of validation from them. So that's a really good point. I think people should definitely look out for, because there's a saying, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link. So you might be strong, but if you're connected to third parties that are not, you can get compromised. And we've seen that over time with different breaches. So that's a good thing. I mean, right now we're at time. So what I do for my guests, first of all, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. And what I do is I give you the stage. You can talk about how people can find you, or anything that you want to promote or that you're involved in, and I'll give you the stage to do that, Zechariah.
all right.
So I'm going to give you the stage, so you can just let people know how to find you and different things that you want to promote.
Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm on LinkedIn, and you can just search for my name, Zechariah Akinpelu. And also I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Urudike7. So yes, you can. I'm on Twitter, which is not X. I'm also I'm not that active on Facebook. Yes, I have a Facebook page, but I'm also on the once in a while I do just because of my busy schedule. I have a YouTube channel. So maybe I think for my LinkedIn page you can get through my LinkedIn my YouTube channel. I do post some training on my YouTube channel once in a while. But my major place where you can find me is on LinkedIn. You can shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and so that's where you can find me on my LinkedIn page. You can easily find it, and so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, which is not X. I'm also on YouTube channel. I do popularize content on cybersecurity, actually technical content on workshops and all of that. All the workshop that I do workshop for various organizations and various institutions. So it caps maybe like kind of a brief of those workshop, like all these 5 minute, 10 minute stuff on how to do stuff. For example, how to exploit external vulnerabilities. Some of those 10 minute, 50-minute videos at all my YouTube channels. So
thank you very much for that. Let me see. I think I found your YouTube channel. Is it the application security 7059?
yes, you're correct.
All right, so I'm gonna post it out and make it part of the show so it's with us so people can look at it. That's the YouTube channel right there. If you guys want to look at it, I know I'm gonna be taking a look at it. Zechariah has a lot of informative insight. So I'll take a look at your YouTube channel, and I'll definitely be in touch. Once again, I want to thank you very much for joining us in this episode and the insights that you've given to us. I know it's something that we can review moving forward and so forth. To all the guests who tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. You can catch us live every Friday, 12 p.m. EST. You can visit us at our website, techbehindfintech.com. Also on the website, let me please subscribe so you don't miss a beat. I'm going to put the subscription link on the it's Tech Behind FinTech. Subscribe. This way we get your email and you'll get insights that we post and upcoming shows. Let me put it so we can be part of the show. Tech Behind FinTech. Subscribe so you don't miss a beat and you keep informed. Once again, thank you very much. I wish everybody a happy weekend. Thank you very much, Zechariah, for your time. And on that note, we are out. Cheers.
All right, thank you for your time, right on.
Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.